Hey, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in with me again. This is Consider Jennifer Raw, and it's my space online to talk to you a little bit more honestly, a little bit more real, a little bit more personally, a little bit more unscripted on all things having to do with personal responsibility and radical honesty. And today I want to talk about blame, or more specifically, how blame holds you hostage, how it keeps you from being able to act in a better way, or in a better way for you. I guess maybe I should say that. So, we've all been in the environment where we have felt like life is happening to us. Something happens, it may or may not be your fault, and you have to deal with the outcome, the circumstances of the situation, because in your mind of somebody else or something else. We have all been there. It's very real. It can be very frustrating. Some instances it's an inconvenience. You get a flat tire or your schedule gets jumbled. Other times it's really significant, illness, death, real stuff. And quite naturally, in those situations, our first response is always to finger point. And that's perfectly fine. It's totally normal. And don't shame yourself for that. We all feel it. It's part of the human experience. The question that I want to ask everybody, though, is how long do you stay in that space? And what do you do in order to help yourself get out of it? Because if you stay in that finger pointing place, you don't have the energy that you need in order to think about your best way out of whatever it is that you're dealing with. I say a lot. At some point, things become really binary. Are you going to make it better or are you going to make it worse? Those are your two choices. And not making a decision is equally a choice. So let's keep all of that in mind. So let's start simple. Let's say you have a flat tire. You rolled over and somebody left a broken bottle on the street and it popped your tire. There was a nail or a screw or whatever because the guys doing the roof didn't clean up well enough and you have a flat tire. How long are you going to stay pissed off at the fact that you have a flat tire because somebody else did something to your driveway? Somebody else left something on the road? That's the first question. Totally within your ability to make that call. You're the one who gets to choose how to respond to the fact that you have a flat tire. Making it worse is sitting in that for a really long time, letting it completely erode your day, letting it hold you hostage from being able to regroup, move forward, get on with the rest of your life. Like, how significant is this for you in the rest of your day? How significant do you want it to be? That's what making it look worse can look like. Making it look better is going, okay, well, this is shitty. What do I want to do? What are my options? Well, I could call the tow truck. I could see if AAA can come by. I can call my friend. I need to make contact with whoever I was going to meet so they know I'm running late. Like, you have the ability to make choices. And part of those choices involve you choosing to focus on what you can do instead of focusing on what the other person did do or what you can't do. Those are the differences. I think what's important to recognize here is how difficult this can be depending on the circumstances that you're dealing with. A flat tire is one thing. A major illness is something totally different. I know that when my son was diagnosed, I railed at the universe for months. I was in not just blame mode, but I was in war mode. I was going to beat this thing. This thing was making my life bad. It was going to hurt my child. Like, in my head, I had created a war zone with this autism diagnosis. And every moment that I had spent sitting in that space of blaming the universe or the autism or my genes or whatever I could think of that caused this situation was 1 minute more that I wasn't focused on how I could help and support myself and my kid. But it's hard because Sometimes in those environments, you're left with picking two things that you don't want. You don't want either thing. I don't want to do anything. Sometimes we choose to sit in that blame because we feel like we have a right to feel bad. I have a right to be angry. I have a right to be sad. And that's true. And it also keeps you from making your life better than it was before the thing. You're allowing that mindset, that blame, to hold you hostage, and then nothing changes. You continue to sit and stew and point fingers and not take accountability over what you can do. It's extremely difficult to sit in that space because it requires you to be vulnerable with yourself, so honest with yourself about what you need and what you're looking for and how you want to feel, because nobody wants to say I want to be pissed off right now. Most people want to say I want to be happy, but if you hold on to that kind of blame, you're preventing yourself from being as happy as you could be. It festers like a resentment seed, and it can completely debilitate and take all of the joy out of your life, even if you're not aware of it. It's like a poison. It infiltrates. I think there's even like the Buddha said something about, if you have if you're trying to give poison to somebody that you're angry with and you drink the cup, I'm butchering this saying, but I know it's out there. It's like, if you're angry, you're the one who's drinking the poison. They don't have to accept the gift of your poison just because you're angry. It's coming to terms with that reality, with that fact. And that it's a fine line, and you have to be willing to be humble. You have to be willing to let things go, which sometimes can be exceptionally difficult to do depending on what the circumstances are. You also have to be willing to know that you're not entitled to different from what is possible. Um, for example, with my son's autism diagnosis, in no way was there anything I was going to do that was going to get rid of autism in my life. Some things aren't possible. And we live in a world that monetizes and capitalizes on this idea that you can fix any problem and that there is always a happy ending and it's always someone else's fault. And those things are not necessarily true. I wouldn't even think they're true most of the time. I don't know what your experience in life has been, but it has definitely not been mine. I don't have that much control or power. None of us do. And owning that is one of the first steps to letting go of some of that blame, especially if you're dealing with a situation that's really significant and hard and challenging. So I would encourage everybody to kind of think through what that looks like. Are you finding yourself in a situation, big or little, where you are cursing the situation, cursing the universe, throwing your fist into the air and rallying, how could this be happening to me, all of the things? And just take a step back for a second and ask yourself, what do I want to do about this situation? And then start making choices to take you where it is that you want to go. And know that every choice you make is going to give you feedback, consequences, that will let you know whether or not that's the choice you really want to be making or not. Everything you send out, you get back in some kind of way. So if you make a choice and you take in action and the feedback that you get from that isn't what you need or want it to be, that's a sign for you to go back in and figure out if you're really doing the right thing. Have you really made the right choice? Because you want to be able to own the consequences or the feedback from your choices as well. Also can be hard sometimes. At any rate, it's just been floating around in my head a lot. I think it's important to talk about and name. It's hard. It's really hard. Everybody wants to feel like they can make their life perfect, and we can't. You have limits, and blaming anybody or anything for the circumstances that you have, while in the moment it can feel like a release and some sort of catharsis, it keeps you trapped, and it doesn't allow you to make forward progress in the ways that you really probably say that you want to. So be honest about what you really want, how you really want to feel, and what actions you can take, even the internal ones on your thinking, that will help you get to that place. I hope you guys all have a really great one. I hope that summer is shaping up for you very well. And until next time, consider your life, be on purpose.